Welcome to the Construction Big Breakfast, where we give you a hearty serving of insider tips and business strategies to help fuel your day so you can thrive in the construction industry. Now, here's your host, Tip Top Tim Fitch.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Construction Big Breakfast with me, your host, Tip Top Tim Fitch. And today I'm joined by two colleagues. One you'll have seen before, our COO, Cameron Foley. Say hi, Cam.
Hi to everyone.
And new face, new start, Aidan Baun. Say hi, Aidan.
Morning, Tim.
Hi. Anyway, good to see everyone this morning. And we're filming this last working day of January 2021. I have to say we've had a remarkable month. So we're filming this podcast. We wanted to introduce the world to Aidan, who joined us on Monday the 25th. So welcome, Aidan.
Thank you.
And of course, as part of our very in-depth selection process for new team members joining Invennt, we obviously had to ask some of those questions which I believe you are still allowed to ask in a completely inclusive and diverse way. The rules don't, as far as I'm aware, stop me from asking people about what they generally have for breakfast. And of course, the first question in this podcast for new people is always, well, Aidan, what did you have for breakfast this morning?
Well, it might be a new job, Tim, but I am a man of routine, and porridge made on the hob, I'll say, not in the microwave, none of that nonsense, with blueberries and a spoonful of honey. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like it probably passes muster, and you'll be able to just make a little note on your records, HR records, the fact that you do have probably. We'll come back to the fact that it was porridge in a minute. Cameron, what did you have today?
Well, Tim, I'm also a man of tradition. I'm a tea and toast man. Toast with butter and marmalade with bits.
With bits.
I like to be controversial in these things.
Oh, when you like the marmalade with the rind in it? Yes.
The bits, yeah.
I like it.
Nice bit of texture to start the day off.
Thick cut.
Of course.
So this is quite a good intro. Well, I had my usual lockdown breakfast, 2 boiled eggs and toast, soldiers. But very interesting to hear Aidan's porridge, because of course, where's porridge super popular?
Up north, well, very far north.
Scotland. Scotland. Yeah. And although you don't have a Scottish burr,
yes.
Just tell me what you've been doing before you joined us.
So I've just relocated from Edinburgh, where I had been running Hardscape's Scottish operation, essentially. Hardscape are a hard landscaping consultancy supplier, and we used to work on commercial projects, basically projects like the V&A in Dundee, Edinburgh St James, so big commercial scale projects. And essentially we would support landscape architects or architects through the design process, and take it all the way through to delivery. So through technical design, through the tender process, and then, yeah, as I say, through to delivery on site. And it would be materials from all over the world. So Chinese granite, European sandstones, various natural stones from other parts of the world, but then also delving into concretes and clay and, yeah, all sorts of things, really.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I always. It always intrigues me. It always surprises me how massively diverse this ecosystem that we call construction is.
Yes.
Yeah, from, in your case, previous life, specifying and selling architectural materials, to all of the other components that we've all been involved in our previous lives.
It's enormous, and you know, the diversity of the type of people that you work with within that realm is just incredible. You know, the nuance of when you're working with Chinese factories versus then a UK supplier. It's yeah, it can be pretty different. And I guess the skill is being able to manage those different people.
And I take it that your work involved a bit of international travel if you're dealing with suppliers from abroad.
Yeah, so I went out to China, I think in 2018. Do you know what? It's so advanced, and it's not what you would expect. You know, when you're dealing with natural stone, obviously it's got a long journey to get to site, and you're trying to avoid any damage. So most of the quarries in China are located within about 3 hours of the ports. So, somehow it's just the geology of the land, but the roads from the quarries to the ports are like F1 tracks, perfect tarmac, not a bump in the road. And so everything that travels down arrives at the port ready to go, no damage, and then it's put on a ship for 6 weeks.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I have to say, it's amazing to hear that. It's a bit awesome. It's a bit worrying, isn't it?
Yeah. In equal measure.
I mean, are you saying that the Chinese have constructed their road network to minimise the damage to architectural stone in transit? Or
Look, I don't think it's specifically to that, but it wouldn't surprise me. You know, they can do whatever they like over there. That's the benefit of the way that country's run, right? If they want to close a road off and tarmac it, no one's going to complain. So, you know, they get on and do it.
You mentioned the geology.
Yes.
Of the landscape in China. I understand that your background is of interest to that as well.
Yeah, so I studied geology at University of Manchester, and that's when I then joined. So I left university and then joined Hardscape. So it was kind of a nice foot in the door into construction. It definitely helps. I mean, yes, it helped with what we were looking at. I understood the different materials and how that worked. It was more that, you know, as a salesperson, people switched on when you tell people you're a geologist and you're working with natural stone. It was a nice bit of support when you needed it. You know, when you're on site in Scotland in the rain and hail and someone's telling you that a piece of stone's damaged or this is wrong, or, you know, turning around and telling them you're a geologist did kind of help at times.
I'm speaking as someone who's started my career as a geotechnical engineer. I can empathise.
Especially with the rainy bit in Scotland.
Yeah.
It may not be the best sort of thing to talk about at parties, but you know, sometimes when you're down the hole, it can be quite helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say Abby particularly enjoys any of my geology talk, but yeah.
So tell me about you studied in Manchester.
Yeah.
And that was what, in the early, was it in about 2010 or something like that?
Yeah, 2010 to 2013. Yeah. I mean, I loved Manchester as a student, and I then had, I think, another 3 years after university there. That city has just transformed in terms of the scale of the building going on. It's just unbelievable. But I mean, what a great story.
You should have been here in 1982 when I went.
You're right. It's changed a lot, and
massively. Of course, at the time I lived in, I was studying in Salford, which is it's a different city. It's walking distance from one to the other, and it's completely transformed.
Yeah.
90% for the better, but yeah, it just shows you what can happen in one person's, I can say, working lifetime. Got a few years left. But looking back over all those years, it's really, really amazing what happens.
Yeah. I mean, there's places just off the northern quarter in Manchester that even when I lived there, when I was working at Hardscape, were just brownfield sites. And they're now whole communities that my mates live at, you know, and bars, restaurants, blocks and blocks of flats, and it's happened in 5-6 years. It's just incredible.
Phenomenal. So what took you from Manchester up to Scotland then?
So I started looking after Scotland as a territory, sales territory, and I was up and down the road, you know, every week, staying in hotels and things like that. And I really saw the opportunity for us to kind of grab it up there, because there's no specification work really going on by other companies. You know, when you're working on a big construction site, if your site manager, your project manager wants you there, they want you there in the next couple of hours. They don't want you there in 3 or 4 days' time. So we didn't have any permanent presence up there. So I thought, okay, well, let's give this a go. I was at a stage in my life where I thought, you know, I'm young, I haven't got family or kids or anything like that. Let's go give it a whirl, see what happens. And yeah, it just took off really. I think we started at about 750 grand was about our rough turnover when I took over, and we finished at about 4 million last year. And about halfway through, we opened an office on Charlotte Square, so that we had a place for designers to come and look at materials and get hands-on with it. And then we get the university graduates in there so that they could get a feel for it. And the first supplier they ever learn is hardscape, so you know they'll forever know who hardscape are. Yeah, and in Edinburgh it was just a great place to be more than anything. If someone gives you the opportunity to move to Edinburgh, you're gonna grab it, aren't you?
Again, another fantastic city. And what was the key differences between Manchester and Edinburgh for you then? What did you particularly like doing in Edinburgh?
It's very different. It is very, very different. I always say Edinburgh's like the girlfriend you take home to your parents. You know, it's safe, it's pretty, you know, it's just, parents will love you living there. I think when I lived in Manchester, my mum was a bit like, well, not sure about that, you know, it's a bit of a scary place. But Edinburgh's it's just got so much to do, you know, and more than anything, you can get up to the Highlands as well. It's not just about Edinburgh, it's about the whole, everything you have access to when you're there.
And did you take advantage of that?
Yeah. I jump in the car on a Friday night, get up north, go stay in a little hotel somewhere that, you know, it's never flash, but it's just, you get the full culture of, you know, going north, head to the distilleries, take home your little, they give you little, like pipettes and little bottles, don't they? Because obviously you can't take, it's zero tolerance up there, so you can't actually do any of the tastings.
Yeah.
Well, so I mean, I have to say that when I was your age, I used to go up August for the Fringe.
Yeah.
Which was, when you're young, it's great fun, even if you have to sleep on someone's sofa.
Yeah. I mean, our flat basically became a revolving door into a hotel, because anyone and everyone had, can we come stay on your sofa? We'll just come for a couple of nights. But what a month that is. It seems quite mixed between residents and kind of, well, the locals seem quite mixed over what they enjoy. I mean, we were there for 4 years, so we just absolutely loved every minute of it. But I can imagine in your 20th year, it might get a bit much.
Yeah.
I think wherever you are in the country, there's always something going off that happens every year. So where Cameron and I live, they have a Canal Festival, which this very morning was cancelled for the second year on the bounce because of the epidemic. Of course, that's our version of Fringe. That's right. We have an influx of barges and a very diverse group of people you get who live on barges full time.
Yeah. Air full of that lovely wood burning smell that just
nice.
Loves it. Yeah, as you walk through the canal at night, that lovely smell that you get, fantastic.
How big is this event?
Oh, there's thousands of people who come to it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And it's a very interesting community, because they are, you know, opposite where I live, literally is the canal. and there are permanent moorings, and the people who have a permanent mooring are a very broad cross section of society, ranging from people who you see their children walking along the towpath wearing their straw boaters going to the local private school in the morning, to people who have a very alternative lifestyle. And I wouldn't say it was wood burning you can smell as you walk down that towpath someday, but it is an organic substance being burnt. So there's the full range of people, families, as well as, you know, alternative lifestyle people.
Yes.
It's an interesting subgroup.
Nice event.
And the event itself, so you've got the people there all the time, and then loads more turn up, and then they put rock bands on and stuff like that in the fields next to the canal. Yeah, it's a shame it's gone, but, you know, what else can you do? I mean, it will not be a clever thing to do at the moment.
No, but it'll be back.
Yeah,
We'll be back. We'll be back. But we digress. This is all about you, Aidan, because one of the things that impressed Invennt so much about you was not only are you a personable guy, but the fact that you built business in Scotland, and how you went about it was particularly impressive for us. It's a great story, and perhaps you could just share with us some of the key challenges that you had to overcome in doing that, because it's not an easy thing to do, especially in a different geography.
Yeah, look, the geography was always an issue, and even to my last site visit up to Dundee in December, people still thought I'd come up from London to do the site visit, and I'd been in Edinburgh for 4 years. You know, that was something I was never going to overcome. I think the difficulty was I wasn't local, but it was helped by being local, if that makes sense. You know, by being there permanently and being able to be close to these people and kind of live amongst it. You've got to be amongst these projects, and particularly with big commercial projects, you know, you can drive around cities and you can see what's going on, and you can knock on doors and say hello to people, which is a little bit old hat, but it works from time to time. In terms of the strategy, it was really to push strong specification. So in Hardscape's case, that's specifying, you know, a number of different products across a project to make it more difficult for individual suppliers to pick you off. If it was just Chinese granite, you know, you're running with the wolves. But if you were to specify, you know, concrete, clay and granite, then it plays into Hardscape's hand, because no one else can compete. So influencing specifiers to do that kind of thing was definitely pushing our conversion rate up. And that also pushes things like margin up, and that goes with it. And then developing those contractual relationships was kind of the next stage of it. And, you know, in December, Hardscape employed a sales manager in Scotland, and is a local Glasgow boy, and he's exactly the right person to take it on, because he'll be able to develop those contractual relationships in a way that I probably was always going to struggle to, because he can be in amongst it, and he'll do the golf days, and he'll do, you know, the lighthouse events or whatever they are in Glasgow. So that'll be that was the right next step for the business, I believe. Yeah.
Nonetheless, what you achieved and you put your effort into it, what came out at the end was a fantastic result for your previous business. And
yeah,
you know, it's a brave move to do that, and it paid off. And we're very glad that you decided to move on.
Yeah.
Join us and help us grow our business as well.
That's the plan.
And I think it's at that point we should just say that the whole recruitment process and the onboarding has all been done remotely.
Yeah.
Because of obviously no one's got any choice at the moment. That's to move our business forward. We had to do that, and that's what we've done. So, Aidan, you're not the only employee we've got who's never met anybody else. You are the only one in the UK. We've got someone in a very similar position in Toronto who started a couple of weeks before, Sheldon. You've met virtually, but
Yeah.
you got as close to meeting him as I have.
It's been smooth though. I mean, it is different, but I don't think it stops you talking to people. And yeah, maybe your approach has to be slightly different, but to be honest with you, it's kind of, I haven't really felt there's been any difference really, but I guess it's been 7 years since I did anything like this. So yeah, it's just how it is. Yeah,
I mean, you're right, Tim. We've been through the whole interviewing process, the search and interview, and the discussions that we've had over the intervening weeks, and then getting you actually on board, and you leaving your previous business to come to Invennt, all virtual, all over the net.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it has been very smooth. Just the whole process, it's been remarkable, really, because we haven't done that before, have we, Tim? We haven't got anybody on board virtually like this before, and then it's like buses, two come along at once, don't they?
Yes, because of course, funny enough, Couture was interviewed and offered the job without us ever meeting her. But the first thing she did, the first day she started, was get on a plane, and she came to London for her induction.
That's right.
Which was just over a year ago. But to have done the induction remotely is the first time we've done it.
Yeah, and it's helped with the software that we chose. I mean, we were looking at different types of software probably about 2 years ago, and because of the mix and diversity of our staff, i.e. younger than us, we were pushed into moving into the Microsoft Office 365 area, and then through Microsoft Teams. So we were actually using Teams prior to COVID-19 taking impacts. When we had to move to working from home, it wasn't without a few bumps in the road, but it was remarkably easy to do, or certainly easier than I thought it was going to be. And then to fast forward a year, when we've all been working from home for this length of time, to be interviewing and then onboarding staff remotely is remarkable.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm a slow adopter of technology, and I was resistant to having virtual meeting. I'm going back a year. So it's all for the youngsters. Let them carry on if they want to send messages via Teams. What's wrong with text? But funny enough, as soon as the lockdown happened, within about 10 minutes, I'd adopted it because I didn't have a choice, did I? So it bumped me into the 21st century, I suppose, and no doubt a lot of other people. And I think that's a permanent change.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Change.
Did out of interest, did the consultants have their client meetings virtually before, or was it always getting on the train? And
so it looks like Tim's Wi-Fi has given up. So I think I'll take that question, Aidan. So what we used to do was lots and lots of face-to-face contact. So we were up and down the country, planes, trains, automobiles, meeting with our customers face-to-face.
Yeah.
That was time-consuming, expensive, and in hindsight, it was actually very inefficient.
Yeah.
And one thing that we've learned, having moved across to the online platforms that we're using, that we have, in our own view, we believe we've become more efficient. We're certainly able to carry out our client services uninterrupted. We've had lots of meetings where we've had upwards of 15, nearly 20 people on Teams meetings, and it's been very successful. So one thing that this pandemic's taught us is that we can move across, we can adapt, and be successful at it. And it's great testimony to our staff that we've been able to shift across. So no more 5 a.m. starts to get the train up north somewhere, but it will come back, I'm sure, and probably a good balance is somewhere in between the two, with a bit of office work and with a bit of this meeting online. So, but yeah, we've successfully moved across. So onwards and upwards. Indeed. So I think with that, it seems to be a good time to end. So thank you, particularly Aidan, for your participation in this, and welcome to Invennt.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim, as well, and thank you to everyone who's watching and listening. Please like, subscribe, share, and whatever else you do on social media. And that's it for this podcast. But stay tuned. As always, there'll be another one in the can for the next. Stay tuned for the next issue of The Big Breakfast. So see you later.
Thanks.
Come to Invennt for the highest R&D tax credit you can claim. We help construction businesses get back millions in tax credits every year. Contact us today for a free review. Thanks for joining us this week on the Construction Big Breakfast. Make sure to visit our website, www.inventt.com, where you can subscribe to the Construction Big Breakfast on all platforms, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a positive rating. Or if you'd simply share it with a friend, that would help us out too. Be sure to tune in for our next episode.